Let's start by considering what race walking is. It's a competition to get from A to B as fast as possible whilst abiding by two rules. It's on a road or track course, and it requires physical conditioning, mental focus, and legal and efficient technique. Now let's consider what are drills. They are a series of exaggerated exercises carried out over 25 to 100 yards. Their general purposes are to increase range of motion, strength at the extremes of the range of motion, and kinesthetic awareness, that is, awareness of the position and motion of your body parts. Some exercises have specific purposes, for example increasing leg speed or reducing creeping. Drills are technique and not fitness exercises.
Right, now that you've decided that you want to be a stronger, faster, better coordinated race walker, how do you actually do drills? Well, the first thing you have to do is select drills for your particular needs, whether you have a creeping problem, inflexibility, whatever your specific problem is, pick drills that are good for your particular needs. Focus on up to 6 particular drills for any 3 to 6 week period. You don't want to overload yourself. When do you do drills? You want to do them as part of a warm-up before any track workout or after any other workout. Drills should be carried out over a 25 to 100 yard distance on a flat, smooth, firm surface, preferably with a nice white line to do some of the crossover drills. You want to recover well between the drills. These aren't really for training your cardiovascular system. They're just for coordination. You want to be nice and rested. You can do them year-round, lessen your taper period before races. And always remember that after drills you might be sore at first until you get used to them.
And now, my lovely assistant Dave is going to demonstrate the crossover drill. Walking with normal race walking technique, he's landing his feet to either side of a line on the track. Called figure eights. Dave is walking about 2 cones on the track in a figure 8. This teaches the position of your center of gravity. You continually have to lean from side to side, correct ankle motion, and also leaning as you go about turns in a race. In this version of the drill, he is now going about a series of cones in a slalom. Again, this is useful for learning to turn and corner in races, and teaches full range of motion with the ankles. It's called quick steps. The objective is to take short, swift steps. Builds good ankle mobility and fast leg turnover. This drill is called heel walking. You walk with normal race walking technique, except the toes don't touch the floor, which is obviously quite limiting. This drill is called rocking the baby. It works on hip action as well as the knees and the ankles. You can do this along a straight line. Dave is walking around a curve so that you can see it from different angles. This drill is called zombies or Frankenstein walks. It accentuates the roll-off at the toes at the end of the stride. It's also very good for learning the correct angle and body position to lean forward into, rather than leaning from the waist. This drill is called slow motion walking. Accentuate the push-off from the toes behind you as hard as you can. The objective is not to move forward quickly, but to move through a full range of motion.
Walking with too high a knee drive, it often helps to have a partner walk beside them with the stick to let them know that their knee is going too high in the front.
It's called the lost quarter drill. You see, it's very good if you have trouble with creeping. Dave's landing on his heel, fully extending that hamstring. You do this over maybe 20-30 yards at the most, otherwise you'll end up quite sore. Don't feel like you're overstretching on that downswing. Just reach down to a slight pull and keep those toes very high. Very good as well for building strength in the shin muscles. This is called cross-country skiing. It's very good for a full toe-off action, and at the same time the complete rotation of the hips in a transverse plane. That's parallel to the ground. That's the core of all good race walking. This is called 1, 2, 3 pop. It's a Polish drill. It's very good for coordination. Take 3 walking strides and then a full knee lift. I'll say that again slowly. A full knee lift. The rear leg should be extended with the toes up to a full range and the knees straight. Probably a bit straighter than Dave's doing it here, but that'll be fine for now. This is called long arms drill. Gives you full toe off and helps you learn to bring that hip around. This is the long arm drill seen head on. See, the feet are still coming around into a straight line. From the camera you can see the full rotation of the hips, but the waistband is still parallel to the floor.
Drill called Italian crossovers. It's for hip strength and flexibility. It's a difficult drill to do. It kind of lets you know why they lost the war. Hugging drill. It's a British drill developed by late 20th century walker Ian Whatley. It's for hip and shoulder rotation, coordination, and also it makes sure that that rotation is in the transverse plane rather than up and down. If you go up and down, you're definitely going to feel it. Next, Ian's going to show us a series of Italian dowel drills, taking an 18 to 20-inch dowel to isolate certain body parts. Right now, Ian has the dowel up near his shoulders to really show that shoulder-hip rotation. If the ends of the dowel will show any exaggeration that you might have in your technique. The dowel behind his lower back to let him know if his hips are going from side to side or up and down. They should be going from side to side. Walking with the dowel behind his neck to let him know if his shoulders are dropping too much. Shoulders should remain as level as possible without too much up and downward motion. Notice how his elbows are coming from side to side rather than dipping up and down. Piston is carrying the dowel on his hips, making certain that his hip rotation is going forward and back rather than up and down. Drill called the Italian flower pull. He's working on his coordination and his working on strengthening his oblique muscles. Drill is a Polish version called the chicken, also strengthening the obliques, developing coordination. Strengthening the obliques will help Ian to keep his hips down instead of dropping the hips up and down to the side. What I meant was that drill is going to help Ian to strengthen his obliques so that he doesn't have excessive up and down motion with his hips. The motion should be side to side rather than up and down.
Right, apology accepted. One-armed windmills. Notice that that palm is facing away from the body. The forearm comes very close to the ear. Very good for shoulder range of motion and becoming aware of any tension there. Also helps you to keep your hips and shoulders coordinated. This is a two-arm windmill. It really is a tremendous coordination project as well as mobility. Notice the hip and shoulder girdle rotate counter to each other. Very clear from behind. Watch the back of Dave's shoulders and the waistband of his shorts. Left foot's coming back, right shoulder's coming back at the same time. This is a variation where you keep your fingertips on your shoulders. It's a lot easier, will cause less soreness. Probably a good starting point for your windmills. Again, watch Dave going away from the camera. Watch the hips and the shoulders rotating counter to each other. Walking with your hands on your sternum. Very good for learning how much range of motion you have in your shoulders and arms. If you've been walking with excessive range of motion, this will feel very odd to you. This is part of what's called kinesthetic awareness. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced.
A drill that's often employed by Russian coaches teaching runners how to race walk is to have them actually run at about 8 minutes per mile and then make the transition into race walking. It's also used effectively in Ian's clinics and my own clinics when some race walkers don't have enough explosive power from the rear. They're really not bounding enough from the rear. If somebody's walking very flat-footed, we often make them jog just at about 8 minutes per mile and then make the transition into a race walk.
As part of a warm-up, you may want to include some accelerations. What you're seeing Dave do here, after he's done 10 or 15 minutes easy walking, and his stretching and mobility, the subject of our next tape, incidentally, he's doing accelerations over 50 to 60 meters. It's very good for your kinesthetic awareness, as he keeps telling me it's supposed to be pronounced. It's also a good part of your warm-up for building economy of motion, which is something we'll talk about in our technique tape. And this, taken along with the other drills that you've seen, should give you a goodie bag of exercises to play around with over the next few months that will improve your efficiency and legality of your race walking technique. Enjoy it. You've just seen a demonstration of a series of drills. In this section of the tape, we're going to talk about choosing the correct drills for your needs. We're going to discuss the purposes of drills, the specific purposes and the general purposes, and the things that you can address with them. Drills will help you if you have a legality problem. If you have a lot of trouble, for example, with creeping, walking with bent knees, drills will help you become more aware of body position and to strengthen to avoid those flaws. If you have trouble with lifting as a result of lifting your knees too high during your walking action, drills will help you reduce that. If you have technique flaws, which are not actually causing legality problems, they are still decreasing your efficiency. And one of our objectives is to walk as efficiently as possible. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about choosing the correct drills. The correct way to use this tape is to watch the section where we discuss choosing the correct drills, then go back and select some of the exercises you have just seen. Rewind the tape, watch those exercises and try to mimic them. You probably recall from our technique discussion on the previous tape, the best way to learn something is to watch and to copy. Once you have some rudiments, some beginning of the skill, then watch the last part of this tape when we'll discuss the specifics of each drill's actions and then refine the parts. Okay? What are the general purposes of drills? To walk efficiently, we need to be able to reach a wide range of motion. We're limited by two rules. We have to have a foot on the floor at all times. To have a decent stride length, you must be capable of extending that stride out without a large amount of internal resistance. Once you've done plenty of drills and stretching, you'll very easily be able to achieve a large range of motions. Having done that, you need to be strong at the extremes of the range of motion. A muscle is very strong in the mid-range, but if it's extended or if it's compressed at the extremes of the range of motion, it is not so strong. In the exact same fashion, when you're walking, you're very strong in that mid-range, but you're not so strong out here at the very tail end of the stride. We need to develop strength and a full range of motion. Drills will help us to do that. Kinesthetic or kinesthetic awareness. Depends if you're a colonist or on a bus. Kinesthetic awareness is knowledge of the position of your body parts and their motion. If you have a flaw, for example, you're walking with excessively high shoulders, you have to know other positions of your shoulders and be able to sense those to correct the flaw. A coach might tell you, drop your shoulders. Well, if you have no sense of what a dropped shoulder feels like, you're not going to be able to do it very easily. Drills will help you to learn those things.
Welcome back. This part of the tape we're going to discuss how to pick particular drills for your individual technique flaws. Later on the tape we're going to show you actually how to do these drills. On the earlier sections of the tape we showed you how to do these so you have something to mimic. Next we'll be discussing the parts of each particular drill that you will be focusing on to work on your technique problems. Number one, for the ankle flexibility, you'll be using the crossover drills, figure eights, slaloms, and quick steps. You want to increase ankle flexibility so that you're driving your bicycle with a round wheel rather than a square wheel, as we discussed in the technique video. If you have shin problems, you need to develop shin strength. That's also going to help you lock out your knee if you have creaking problems. Walking on your heels, doing the heel walk drill will help that. Increasing the range of motion behind you, getting that free power from behind you, again, as we earlier discussed. You want to increase your toe up from the rear, rocking the baby drill, slow walk, and the Frankenstein walk. If you have a problem with a very high knee lift, it's very wasteful and it looks terrible to a judge to have a very high knee lift when you're race walking. You do the Kerrigan drill with your partner, tapping on your knees to help you limit your knee drive in front of the body. If you have creeping problems, doing the toe touches, the lost quarter drill. If you have limited hip rotation, you want to have a nice forward hip rotation rather than up and down hip drop. The cross-country ski drill, 1, 2, 3 pop drill, the long arm, the pendulum arms drill, the wide, very wide crossovers, which is done not on a carpet but on a flat, smooth surface, the hugging drill, and then any number of dowel drills behind the neck, on the chest, lower back, and on the hip points. If you have excessive hip drop, too much drop from the hip, you need to strengthen your oblique muscles. 2 drills to do that. The chicken drill, the Polish chicken drill, and then the Italian flower picking drill. If you have excessive shoulder tension, which is going to be transferred throughout the body, 1-arm windmills, 2-arm windmills, and then walking with your fingertips on your shoulders. Finally, walkers that walk with too much arm drive, which again is transferred to the legs and creates an overstriding situation in the front, just walking with the hands on the chest will limit that. Next on the video, we're going to discuss how to do these individual drills part by part so that you know exactly what you're focusing on. Okay, how to do the first drill, the crossover drill. Number one, you would get out of a classroom situation, go onto the track where you have a painted line, or any kind of a line on an asphalt surface, on a bicycle path. Just race walk normally, but crossing over the line with each foot slightly, not excessively. It's going to help you to develop your ankle flexion to just cross over, and also it will help you with a bit of a creeping problem if it's not too bad. Figure eights. What you would do is get 2 cones or any other kind of clothing items on the track, set them about 15 meters apart, simply do figure eights using proper walking technique. You're going to be leaning into the cones, obviously, to make it around the turns. That's going to help you in a race situation. It's also going to develop ankle flexibility and hip flexibility. Slalom course is the same situation, but with more cones. Quick steps is really to maximize that ankle flexion, walking with very quick steps, very short stride, 1 foot right in front of the other. Heel walk, simply walking on your heels with a nice straight knee. The toe up,
Rocking the baby. In this drill, clasp your hands at about waist level. You're going to walk somewhat slower than training pace. Emphasize the toe up. that extreme range of motion and strength at the end of each stride. Up, push, up, and push. Frankenstein drills, or zombie drills, think in terms of leaning forwards from the ankle, so that the ankle, knee, hip, shoulder form a straight line. Another way of thinking about it is as if you were pushing a shopping trolley full of heavy weights, so you could lean into it. And move slower than training pace, and accentuate the range of motion at the extreme behind you. Roll up, roll, 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 roll. Next one, slow walking. This is race walking done in slow motion, emphasizing the strength and extreme power at the end of the stride. Push off the toe, push off the toe. This is where the work is done in this exercise, right at the tail end. You'll feel it working here, here, and here. We used the analogy of kicking sand at the person behind you, driving back there. If you have trouble with high knees, we've talked about what we call the Kerrigan drill with a dowel. In this, a partner will come slightly in front of you and to one side and hold a dowel so that if you lift your knees excessively, it touches against them. This gives you the feedback to be aware, to have the kinesthetic awareness of what you're doing wrong with the knee. As you walk, they'll just tap those knees to let you know how high your knees are being lifted. Creeping problems, the lost quarter drill. This is done very slowly compared with normal race walking pace. Don't bounce, don't jerk into the motion, you could strain a hamstring. You're going to land on a heel and reach towards that toe. Heel, reach towards the toe. Notice the stride length is only a few inches. The feet are almost directly in front of each other. The things to emphasize: high toes, locked knee, bend, down and touch. Going back, down, touch. You shouldn't be feeling excessive strain here. If you've had a lot of lower back troubles ever, do not do this drill. There is potential for hurting, re-aggravating lower back problems.
These drills are going to be for achieving accentuated hip rotation, forward rotation of the hips. First one is a cross-country ski drill. It's a Polish drill. It's not going to be using a race walking technique. It's going to be walking with a very high knee lift and really bringing the hip around at this point of that stride. With every other stride, you're going to be popping that knee up. 1, 2, 1, 2. Then take the other leg, going back the other way. It's very similar to the 1, 2, 3 pop drill that our coach Bogdan Bolakowski showed us. 1, 2, 3, pop. 1, 2, 3, pop. You want to be really accentuating that hip drive just on one side with each stride, every third stride. Another drill for hip rotation is the paddle arms, pendulum arms, long arms drill. What you're really doing is just really accentuating the toe off in the back, but by keeping that foot on the ground longer in the back, you're really allowing that hip to come around in the front more. Race walking with a very long stride because your arms are going to act like a very long pendulum.
In a very wide crossover drill, find a line. You're going to make very slow forward progress along the line. The objective is to accentuate hip rotation, not hip drop. And you will do this by crossing all the way over and landing on the heel with a straight leg. You'll have to keep your arms fairly high to maintain balance. Don't worry about the arm action, it's the hip action. Step all the way across, toes up, straight leg. Try not to bend too far forwards at the waist. You might need to a little just to maintain balance, but it really is the twist type motion you're trying to achieve. Hugging drills. These are very comforting when you're worried that your technique's back. Hold on to yourself so that your arms are crossed in front and you simply place your hands on your shoulders. It's not a clenching type hug. It simply gets your arms completely isolated from the motion. the rotation of the shoulders and hips relative to each other is then accentuated. You don't have any problem with the arms interfering with it. So think about the rotation of shoulders in one direction, counter to the hips. Okay? And when you've done it, give yourself a hug. Dowel drills. Dowel drills. The dowel drills originated really with Frank Alongi, to the best of my knowledge. The drill involves using a piece of dowel about 18 to 20 inches long, somewhat longer than the one we have, which is our only prop. Amazing, isn't it? You simply isolate parts of your walking technique by placing it, for example, on the chest and holding it and becoming aware of the motion of the points. The low back, holding it against the low back and allowing it to rotate. Placing it behind the neck, and again, holding it and becoming aware of the isolation of the arms and that rotation being parallel to the ground, transverse rotation. Same thing, the points of the hips. What we mean by the points of the hips, those bony bits at the top of your hips. Place the dowel hard against those, and you will then have, if you like, an amplifier that makes you more aware of whether it's dropping or rotating.
If you do happen to do your dowel drill and realize that you are getting excessive hip drop, you might want to do a couple of versions of some hip drop drills. One is a Polish version, one's the Italian version. The chicken is the Polish version. Basically what you want to do is keep your arms behind your back, cross behind your back, and get a very pronounced twist to the side to strengthen your oblique muscles on the sides. Strong oblique muscles are going to help you keeping your hips nice and level rather than dropping up and down. Basically, it's not really a race walking technique. You are crossing over slightly more than a race walk and bringing the hips over slightly more. Okay, on the line, you would probably come out a little bit more than I would because I'm not trying to knock the camera over right now. Making sure you're landing on your heels with a straight knee. The other version is the Italian version, the flower pole. Basically the same drill. You're reaching towards the same foot. It's the foot on the opposite side, but once you cross over, you're reaching towards that foot that you've crossed over towards. Now, for shoulder flexibility, you want to make sure that your upper body is nice and loose so that you can maintain a good coordination between the hips and the shoulders. First one is the one-arm windmill drill. You want to have the palm of your hand facing flat out. Don't want it to be forward. Nice and flat, and bring your shoulder up very close to your ear. Again, walking down the line with the arm rotating backwards, not forwards. And do the other side. Once you develop that coordination, you can go with both arms. Again, race walking down the line. Landing on the heels, straight knee, everything you would accentuate with good race walk technique. One foot landing straight in front of the other.
Sorry. A couple of more exercises that we had amongst our drills, both useful for isolating the arms and the shoulder motion. First is placing the tips of the fingers about at the point of your collarbone and carrying out the windmill action, either both arms or a single arm, with the arms isolated in this way. You'll walk with normal race walking technique, landing on the heels, on a straight line, accentuating that shoulder roll. And the second one is to isolate the arms and upper body simply by placing the hands together on the sternum, the bone in the middle of your chest. You'll walk slowly with normal race walking technique along a line, landing on your heel, rotating the shoulders in this way. That's the specifics. What you should do is have mimicked the exercise. You're now going to refine the exercise using the pointers we've just given. And this should give you the skills you need to use drills for increasing your efficiency and legality of your race walking technique.
Okay, thanks for coming. That was it for tape number 4, race walking drills. I'd like to thank LaGrange College and the city of LaGrange and some coaches that have helped us develop these drills. Boris Drazdov from Belarusia, Bogdan Bolakowski, Poland, Frank Alongi for teaching us the Italian drills, and Jerzy Hausleber for showing us the Mexican drills.
Congratulations. Good job. Thank you.